The automotive world has been craving a true revolution for over a decade, and Mercedes-Benz has just thrown down the gauntlet. Instead of following the pack, they've leapfrogged the competition with a groundbreaking engine technology that's never been seen before. But how exactly does this new engine work? And when can we expect it to hit the streets? Buckle up as we take a deep dive into Mercedes' game-changing axial flux engine, the innovation that just shook the entire car industry. Enjoying the content? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. If you didn't already know, Mercedes-Benz isn't just another car company. It's the famous car company. The first ever automobile to grace the roads, the Benz patent motor wagon, rolled out of their workshop nearly 140 years ago, back in 1886. Ever since, Mercedes has been the pinnacle of prestige and desirability. Let's be real. Who doesn't want a Mercedes? Whether you're saving up for your dream car or have the means to buy a fleet of them, there's something undeniably magnetic about the brand. But Mercedes' appeal isn't just about heritage or a fancy badge on the hood. Their reputation has always been built on relentless innovation and bold experimentation. Need proof? Here's a mind-blowing fact. The first self-driving car wasn't a Tesla. That title actually belongs to an experimental Mercedes-Benz W114250 automatic, tested all the way back in 1969, 55 years ago. Pretty wild, right? And here's another surprise. Contrary to popular belief, the first true supercar wasn't made by Ferrari or Lamborghini. That honor belongs to the iconic Mercedes-Benz 300 SL. Even decades later, it remains one of the most stunning cars ever built. Just look at it. Effortlessly elegant, brimming with performance. And those gull-wing doors? Absolute perfection. Now, staying true to their legacy of pushing boundaries, Mercedes-Benz is once again rewriting the future of the car industry. They've poured years of research and development into perfecting an all-new engine, and the wait is finally over. So let's break it down and see what makes this revolutionary powertrain tick. The new axial flux motor that Mercedes-Benz presented recently is a completely new way of thinking. Despite being an electric motor, it functions completely differently from those we've seen in Teslas and older EV Mercs. The biggest difference you'll notice is the fact that the gap between the rotor and the stator of the axial flux motor is aligned parallel with the axis of rotation. Unlike the regular radial gap motor, which has its direction of magnetic flux between the rotor and the stator aligned perpendicularly to the axis of rotation. This means that the motor takes up a much thinner silhouette, similar to a pancake, which is why it's commonly known as the pancake motor. Instead of the concentric cylindrical geometry of the radial gap motor, the radial gap motor has been the standard in the past because it was much cheaper and faster to mass produce, as they have considerably fewer magnets compared to the pancake motor. However, the axial flux motor offers a much higher amount of torque due to the fact that its rotating member is found on the outer diameter. This means that an axial motor design offers up to 40% more torque compared to its similarly sized radial counterpart, while also lowering its overall motor footprint. Torque is one of the most important parameters when it comes to EVs, and having it in abundance is always good. Also, axial motors cool considerably easier, which means they won't be heavily strained and overloaded even after extensive usage. One of the biggest names in the axial flux motor industry is by far the British manufacturer YASA. YASA was founded 14 years ago, in 2009, and they've been working on commercializing axial flux motors ever since. In 2015, they equipped an EV with 6 axial motors, and that car managed to set new records at the Pikes Peak climb, where it shredded through the hills with little to no effort. This turned a lot of heads in the car industry, most notably Ferrari, which decided to start working with YASA on their new top-secret hybrid supercar. 9 years later, the company got an even wider audience and much-needed appreciation after the fruits of this collaboration came to light in the form of the famed Ferrari SF90 Stradale, which was the first hybrid supercar in the world. The SF90 utilized 3 axial flux motors that were developed and produced by YASA, and they combined with the 4.0 twin-turbo V8 to produce around 1,000 horsepower. However, we're still fascinated by Mercedes' continuous success in revolutionizing the market and giving the people what they want. They're the best of the best for a reason. That said, this will be the only axial flux motor-powered model that Mercedes will offer, for now. Other models, such as the Mercedes-Benz EQS, will continue using more common engine types. As impressive as the axial flux motor is, it still has a lot of real-world issues compared to other more common alternatives. From a mechanical standpoint, there are two major complications present during the design and production phases. First, the single-stator dual-rotor topology has two air gaps compared to the single gap found in a radial flux motor. The first gap is found between the first rotor disc and the stator, whereas the second one is located between the second rotor disc and the stator. This means that due to multiple gaps, uniformity is much harder to control and monitor, which also means the axial flux motor will produce much more noise, vibration, and harshness compared to its radial counterpart. However, the second issue, which is the Achilles heel of YASA's axial motor design, is in fact its greatest advantage: the removal of the stator yoke. The yokeless design allows the motor to have 3 times the power density of a regular radial engine of equal size. However, it also makes the motor considerably more challenging to produce, as the stator yoke is the part that normally holds the stator teeth together to form a monolithic stator. The absence of the stator yoke means the stator itself can be placed in the middle and use both of its sides to generate torque with a rotor disc. This is phenomenal in terms of performance, as there are virtually no power and torque losses caused by the yoke. But from a production standpoint, it's a major challenge, requiring significant reworks and solutions to function reliably and properly. This further raises production costs, making the axial flux motor extremely economically non-viable. But don't let this dishearten you. Mercedes themselves announced that they plan on developing the axial flux motor topology to perfection, and they're adamant about converting all of their electric vehicles to axial motors. This won't happen overnight, mind you. Mercedes has only recently entered the world of EVs, and logically, they aren't going to majorly revise their new models just a year or so after they hit the market. Mercedes is committed to gradually implementing the axial flux motor into its regular EV range. The Vision 111 will serve as their baptism by fire, allowing them to identify, isolate, and fix any major issues with this extremely ambitious new engine type. If you ask us, the axial flux motor will next be seen in a production-ready EV supercar or hypercar, something equivalent to, or the EV replacement for, the mind-blowing Mercedes-AMG 1. After that, it will start getting gradually implemented in less expensive models until it becomes a standard feature in all EVs Mercedes offers. So all in all, while it's still in its development stage, we're certain that the axial flux motor is the future of EVs, and we can't wait to see them being implemented in upcoming EVs, both Mercedes-made and beyond.